Good afternoon and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. We're going to start the show by taking you live to the Kennedy Center, where just minutes ago, the president announcing the first recipients of its Hallmark honors since he seized control. They include George Strait, Michael Crawford, Sylvester Stallone, Gloria Gaynor, and the rock band Kiss. The president appears to be wrapping up his remarks. Let's go ahead and take a listen in as yet again he discusses all things surrounding the Kennedy Center.
Los Angeles and other places all over the country. Our whole country is going to be so different and so great. It's going to be clean and safe and beautiful, and people are going to love our flag more than they've ever loved it. And we're going to do a great job. So I want to congratulate all the nominees. They're unbelievable people, and we're going to have a tremendous day in December. And that evening is going to be special, some really special people. And real talent. Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, sir. There's new reporting that the Russians have hacked into some computer systems that manage U.S. federal court documents. I wonder if you've seen this reporting and if you plan to bring it up with Putin when you see him later in the week.
I guess I could. Are you surprised? You know, are you surprised? They hack in. That's what they do. They're good at it. We're good at it. We're actually better at it. But no, I have heard about it. I have heard about it. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned congressional Democrats. You have not yet met with Democratic leadership, but there's a funding deadline at the end of September. Do you plan to meet with Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries to discuss that situation?
Well, I will, I guess, but it's almost a waste of time to meet because they never approve anything. If we want money to fight crime, if we want money to do only good things, just good things. And let's not even talk about controversial. They don't want to meet about anything. They really are. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. They have probably more, I would say more than half are sane, but they are led by insane people. And the kind of things that they're pushing are not something. We have a communist running for the mayor of New York, and I wish him well. I may have to deal with him. I mean, it's not even conceivable. It's not even conceivable that could happen. And maybe he won't win, but he won the primaries by quite a bit. You know, shockingly, he won the primaries. So, and you see some of the people supporting him that truly don't believe what he's espousing. So, I mean, we will meet, but nothing's going to come out of the meeting. But here's the advantage we have is that we just passed a great, big, beautiful bill that had all the biggest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Think of it. Think of that for the seniors. No tax on overtime. And all sorts of things. You go out, buy a car, you can deduct the interest payment. If you borrow money, you can deduct the interest payment from your taxes. So many things, but the biggest thing is, from a business standpoint, deductions. And, you know, that was tremendous. It's going to, our country is roaring. Our businesses are, you're going to see some numbers in 12 months when these factories are open. You know, we're opening up factories all over the world, all over the country, but that's all spreading to, I think we're spreading the wealth all over the world, if you want to know the truth. But we're opening them in this country at a level that we've never seen before. We've never seen. So they just don't want to prove anything. They just, we meet with them and they say, as Nancy Reagan said, just say no. They go, oh, just say no. They're afraid to approve anything. If we say, we want to stop crime in this country, or as an example, bail, we want to make it so that people, if they murder somebody, they're in jail. They don't get out on no bail. They say, we don't want that. We want people to murder somebody and they immediately are released and they go out and murder somebody else. It's a big problem, a tremendous problem. By the way, we're going to go for statutes in D.C. and then ultimately for the rest of the country where that's not going to be allowed. Because it was when they did the cashless bail thing that the numbers really started going up. In this city, in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, no matter where they have it, the numbers went through the roof. So we're going to meet with them, of course. I'd like to meet with them. We're going to tell them all these good things, and they're going to tell us no. And then we're going to go out and we're going to vote it in by the Republicans, because I don't believe that anybody is capable of making a deal with these people. They have gone crazy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Your federalization of the police has a 30-day limit unless Congress acts to extend it. Are you talking to Congress about extending it, or do you believe 30 days is sufficient?
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress, before Congress, very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in, and it's going to pertain initially to D.C. It's almost, we're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days. 30 days that's by the time you do it. We're going to have this in good shape. And don't forget, in the border, everyone said it would take years and you'd have to go back to Congress. I never went to Congress for anything. I just said, close the border. And they closed the border. And that was the end of it. I didn't go back to Congress. We're going to do this very quickly, but we're going to want extensions. I don't want to call national emergency. If I have to, I will. But I think the Republicans in Congress will approve this pretty much unanimously.
Mr. President.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you encourage members of the press to do ride-alongs with the D.C. police to understand how serious this crime issue is?
It's okay to me if they want to do it. We're going to work with the D.C. police. A lot of very good people in there. Not all, but a lot of very good, very, very professional. And, you know, we have a big force. I think they said 3,500. They're always asking the mayor, who's a very nice woman, but got to do the job. You know, we've worked with the mayor for 6 months, and she's been here for many years. And the numbers are worse than they ever are. Don't let anyone tell you they're not. And the whole statistical charts that they made, the whole thing is a rigged deal. They got rid of the guy because he didn't want to do the numbers the way they wanted to, and they put their own numbers out. They said it's the best in 20 years. No, it's the worst in 20 years. But we're going to be very open about what we're doing. So if the media wants to ride with police, if they want to do it, if they feel it's safe, that would be okay. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Sir, with President Zelensky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. 2 questions on D.C., if that's okay. How do you feel about Mayor Bowser's level of cooperation and her choosing to advocate for D.C. statehood right now? And
Well, the statehood, let me do that one first. Statehood is ridiculous. We want to straighten the place out. Statehood's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It's the Democrats want it because the Democrats have, about 95% in this little area. Even I didn't get it very much. They want that. They want to pick up 2 senators, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's the least of the reasons why, by the way, but that's one of the reasons why. What we want to do is make Washington, D.C. the greatest, most beautiful, safest capital anywhere in the world, and that's going to happen. I mentioned the word bones before. The bones here, we have the greatest bones. When you look at that Supreme Court building, I think it's one of the most beautiful buildings. When you look at some of the buildings here, it's so magnificent, and everything's good, but it's just dirty and not properly maintained. It's not taken care of. Potholes in the roads. All of it's going to happen very quickly. We're going to seek a relatively small amount of money for fix-up, and we're going to put it out to bid. And we have great contractors here, great road builders, everything. And we're not ripping roads apart so they're closed for 4 years as they redo the concrete bases. And you don't need that. We need a beautiful topping by a very talented asphalt-type person, somebody that does the job. We go out, when I get contractors, I use great contractors. To me, a great contractor is very special, like a great surgeon, like a great teacher, like a great nurse. A great contractor is very important. We'll only use the best. And when you put a coat of asphalt on that top, 2 inches of asphalt, 3 inches of asphalt, it looks brand new. You take all the garbage off. They reseed it, as we call it, or different names, but they take the bad stuff off and they put the good stuff down. It takes not a long period of time. A matter of a few days, you'll have a beautiful, magnificent road. You fix up the curbs. You get rid of the medians in this town are just horrible. You're riding around, I think to myself, leaders come from foreign countries. You see, with leaders all the time, differently. They came in from India recently and from everywhere. They came in from a war that we just ended, Azerbaijan, and you know that, and Armenia. We just ended the war. The two leaders came in. One of them said, my country looks better. The roads are better than, we were talking about. I said, what do you think? He said, well, the roads are better in Armenia than they are in Washington, D.C. It's embarrassing. And I was asked at the last press conference, they said to me, how important is it? You're doing world peace. We're going to on Friday to Alaska, we're meeting with President Putin, Russia. How important it is that the capital is important? I said, very, very important. I told my father, said to me, when you see a restaurant and you want to go and you want to have dinner, and then you go up to the front door and it's dirty, turn around and go back because the kitchen's dirty. It's the same thing with the capital of the United States of America. If it's dirty and unsafe, it sets a bad tone for the rest of the world. So we're not going to do that. We're going to have this capital fixed up, safe, clean, and beautiful in a very short period of time. Go ahead, please. In the back? Yeah, please.
Yes, Mr. President, how were your calls this morning with European leaders, and was it your call not to invite President Zelensky to your meeting with Putin?
No, just the opposite. No. We had a very good call. He was on the call. President Zelensky was on the call. I would rate it a 10, very, very friendly. I know the leaders because I was at NATO, as you know. I took it from 2% to 5%, 2% that wasn't paid, 5% that is paid, which is trillions of dollars in defense capability. No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing. Again, this is Biden's war. This isn't my war. He got us into this thing, and it should have never happened. This war would have never happened if I were president. But it is what it is, and I'm here to fix it, and I'm here to stop 6,000, 7,000 people last week. 7,213 people last week were killed, mostly soldiers. But missiles being lobbed into towns don't exactly help either, but mostly soldiers. And Ukrainian and Russian, they're not American soldiers, but if we can save a lot of lives, it would be a great thing. I've stopped 5 wars in the last 6 months. And on top of that, we wiped out the nuclear capability of Iran, obliterated it. It's turned out to be a correct word, by the way, because some of the press said, well, maybe it wasn't obliteration. It was obliteration. And we're going to meet with, I would say, the second meeting. If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I didn't ask you. Go ahead, please, address.
I just wanted to ask you, thank you, Mr. President, how involved were you in the selection process of these honorees?
I would say I was about 98% involved. No, they all went through me. They came over, Rick and Sergio and everybody. They said, I turned down plenty. They were too woke. I had a couple of wokesters. No, we have great people. This is very different than it used to be. Very different. These are great people, and they're not. I don't have any idea the Republican, because I want people that. The Kennedy Center has everything. Look at the Academy Awards. It gets lousy ratings now. It's all woke. All they do is talk about how much they hate Trump. But nobody likes that. They don't watch anymore. That used to have 45 million people watching. I remember The Apprentice, first season. The Apprentice had 42 million people. The Academy Awards had 41 million people. We were the second show to the Super Bowl. But since then, the Academy Awards have gone down to, I think they've gone down to numbers that are like a regular show. because it went woke. We're not doing it for that reason. We're doing it because we want the great talent. But these are great people. So I was just a very long answer, but I was very involved.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. The Biden administration was auctioning off border wall materials, but we're hearing now that the auctioneer is selling those materials back. Are you finishing building the wall?
Well, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I was getting very close. I actually finished the wall, but then I added another 200 miles because when you do the original wall that I said I was going to build, which I got built, and I got it to the specifications of the Border Patrol and ICE, they wanted steel, they wanted concrete inside, they wanted rebar inside that, they wanted it to have wires. The walls are wired for, all of the internet stuff and security things. And we built it hundreds of miles. We did great. That's one of the reasons, even now, we're able to have such good numbers at zero, or essentially very little people coming in. But Biden, I ordered for another 200 miles. I was going to do another 200 because it's the way it is. And we're all set to do it. Then we had the bad election result, the horrible, what happened to our country, what they've allowed to happen to our country. And we are taking now that wall back. They sold the wall. Now, this is expensive stuff. Hardened steel, very expensive. 9,000-pound concrete and rebar. Rebar is very expensive, the hardest rebound. In other words, very hard to cut. You have different materials. It's very hard to cut because they cut it down if they can. It's very hard to cut. And Biden sold it for pennies on the dollar, 3 cents on the dollar, 4 cents on the dollar. He sold it. And I said, these guys really don't want it. That was when I first realized, when I saw the wall was being put up, because we could have finished the rest of the wall in about 4 weeks, anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. It was all set to go. It was laying down, ready to be put up. The foundations were, and they took over. And they said, we're going to sell the wall. And they sold it, as you know, for pennies on the dollar. Well, Pam Bondi's been working very hard on suing that company, and I think they reached a settlement where we're taking the wall back. But they stole the wall from us. That wall is so expensive to build, and we had it, as you know, hundreds of miles of it, and they came along and they basically sold it for scrap. And what a shame that is. But that was when I first realized that these people actually want to have open borders. And no country has poor countries don't have open borders. No, we had open borders where people just walked in. It didn't matter what they looked like, who they were. We had 11,888 murderers, half of whom killed more than one person. Literally killed more than one person. And this is who we took into our country. So the wall is the least of it, but we're going to take the wall back. We're paying a small amount of money, as I understand it, to get it back, to get rid of the litigation. We'll take it back, we'll put it up, yeah. Go ahead in the back, please.
Stay right there. I want to take it back to the Kennedy Center, if I can, just for a second, Mr. President.
Sure.
From what I understand, the Les Mis show exceeded everyone's expectations. Attendance, revenue, across the board.
That's great.
Do you anticipate future shows to basically do the same?
I like that guy. Now, that's called a question, okay? And he's a great reporter, actually. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it did great. Les Mis did great, broke records, and was sold out and beautiful. And we anticipate a lot of that happening. There's a thirst for it. And especially when the crime is knocked out. When we knock out crime, some people probably stay away from places like restaurants and other things. It ruins your whole fabric. It ruins your country. And when somebody thinks they have about a 25% chance of getting mugged, they say, let's not go to restaurants tonight. We're going to make it so that they have no chance of getting mugged. And it's going to happen soon. And yeah, we think we're going to have a lot of very successful evenings here. Please.
Mr. President, will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you a question about the Fed?
Right next to you, please, yeah.
About the Federal Reserve?
Oh, Federal Reserve, my favorite.
Posted
Too late.
yesterday that you're
He's too late.
You're considering suing Jay Powell. Can you update us on your thinking about that and tell us where you are in your search for a new chair?
Well, he took a building that could have been painted and fixed, like we're going to fix this building for very little money. And that was in better shape. He took a building and what they did to that building, they built a basement under the building. It didn't have a basement. This is simple to understand. The building is right next to a thing called the Potomac River, the beautiful Potomac River. That means lots of water, and the water is right under the building. And they decide to build a basement under the building in the Potomac River. So in order to do that, you need the biggest pumps that God ever created. And they were pumping their hearts out, but as big as those pumps are, you can't pump it fast enough because it's the Potomac River. If the pump were bigger than this room, you couldn't pump it. But they tried, and they've been building a basement. And I said, why did you want to build a basement? I thought it would be a good idea, sir. A basement is the least valuable floor in a building. I know a lot about real estate. The least valuable thing is the basement. And you don't build a basement under a building that is 2 feet above the river that's right next door. You know, it's right near the river. People don't realize the river's right out their window. And that's the beginning. They did just a terrible job. Instead of, I could take a ceiling like this, they'd rip out the ceiling because they see a crack. Let's rip out the ceiling. And I would fix the crack and I would paint the ceiling. And under the ceiling, they put the most incredible protective material. They go out by 3/4 inch, brand new, gorgeous 3/4 inch plywood and sheetrock, hardened sheetrock. And they had it all over the building. So if a little piece of flake came down, but the problem is when they took the ceiling down and it would hit, they spent millions of dollars on protective material that you didn't have to spend anything. He could have done that job for $25 million, and they spent $3.1 billion. He said 2.7, but it's really 3.1. They just don't want to include one of the buildings in the deal. But it's going to be much more than that, and I think he'll be long gone by the time it finishes because they've got a long way to go. And then I hear they want to hire 3,000 economists. What are they going to do? And he got it all wrong. He's too late. We call him Jerome Too Late Powell. It will live with him forever. I believe that name will live with him forever, along with the name Pocahontas and some of the others. He worked closely with Pocahontas, by the way. She's another beauty. But we have a real problem there. They're way over budget, and they did a job that shouldn't have been done. It was unnecessary to be done. I could have gotten the greatest wallpaper anywhere in the world from the finest stores in the world. I could have fixed up a wall a little bit. It would have taken about 2 hours. And covered it with the most magnificent silk and most magnificent paper for thousands of dollars as opposed to tens of millions of dollars. What a shame it is that they did. But they would take down areas of the building that shouldn't have been taken down. They could have literally been painted, and they didn't do that. So they've got a long way to go. And I think it's just grossly incompetent, but not quite as incompetent as his decision not to do interest rates, take down interest rates, because just like they shouldn't have taken down a ceiling, they should take down interest rates. Every point costs us $360 billion a year. Think of that, $360 billion for 1 point. And we should be down at 1% because we're the leader of the world. We were always the lowest interest rate until like a certain time ago, decade, couple. But we were always, because we were the United States of America. So even if the country was run badly, we were considered like to be super prime. And now he's got us in a bad place. So we're paying $360 billion a year for each point. Now, I believe we should be 3 or 4 points lower. So that's over $1 trillion we pay every year in interest. And it's really just a paper calculation. You sign a document and you save almost $1 trillion because that number equates very much to the bonds that we have to buy. But despite that, we're powering through it, and we have the greatest economy maybe we've ever had. But the housing sector, people aren't able to get good mortgages. They're paying too much because of Jerome Too Late Powell. He's truly incompetent. And we'll be making another, we put a very good man in temporarily in the one spot because one of the people that was appointed by the Democrats left early. And I heard left because that person wanted lower interest rates. And I heard quit, but I have no idea. I'm sure she won't say that. I'll be naming a new chairman sometime within the next, I think I'll name it a little bit early, the new chairman. I'm down to 3 or 4 names, all good, all great. The problem is you name them and then they turn out to be not good. That's happened to me a couple of times. You name somebody, they tell you everything you want to hear, and then they go in and they turn out to be not good. I mean, he told me everything that I thought was appropriate. He turned out to be a stiff, you know, real stiff. But other than that, I think he's doing a very good job, yes. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more. 1 or 2 more. Yes, sir, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr.
Looks
President.
like Scott Bessent. Are you the Treasury Secretary?
You don't want me for Treasury.
I don't know. You look like you could do a good job. Go ahead.
I keep my family budget okay. Sir, when you meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska,
yeah,
do you believe you can convince him to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had that conversation with him. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. Then I go home and I see that a rocket hit a nursing home or a rocket hit an apartment building and people are laying dead in the streets. So I guess the answer to that is no, because I've had this conversation. I want to end the war. It's Biden's war, but I want to end it. I'll be very proud to end this war along with the 5 other wars I ended. But I guess the answer to that is probably no, because I would have had a good conversation with Vladimir. I knew him very well. I got along with him great, actually. We had I had to go through the Russia hoax. And it was actually, it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him, I said, you know, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger. And Adam Schiff, it was all made up. It was a hoax. The Mueller report came out. They all hated me. They had 18 Trump haters. And they said I did nothing wrong. They couldn't believe, they couldn't find anything after years of investigation. It was all a hoax. It was a hoax created by the Democrats, but in particular Schiff and Crooked Hillary, the whole group. And now we've learned all the stuff that's come out over the last 2 months is incredible through intelligence. And hopefully something's going to happen with it. These are people that put our country in danger, in real danger. I want to thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. President Trump speaking from the Kennedy Center during the first recipients of its Hallmark honors. Yet again, the president recognizing George Strait, Michael Crawford, Sylvester Stallone, Gloria Gaynor, and the rock band Kiss, all to be honored later this year. The president also stating that he will actually host that event. With regard to taking questions from the media, obviously the federalization of the Metropolitan Police Department came up. The president stating that, well, hopefully in due time he plans to present a crime bill and push that forward. He also hopes to extend the current federalization. The president stating that he would need to claim a national emergency in order to extend it without congressional approval. He does not want to do that. However, the president stated that he may very well just do that. With regard to D.C. statehood, the president yet again stated that statehood is ridiculous, unacceptable, and as the president puts it, will not happen. Obviously, we'll continue to follow that developing story throughout the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. Now the latest on the unstable situation in Gaza. According to numerous reports, Israel is now in discussions with South Sudan about the possibility of resettling Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to the war-torn East African country. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Scott Feltman, Executive Vice President of One Israel Fund, back here on the Live Zone. Scott, truly appreciate you being patient. Welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure. I'm speaking to you from Jerusalem.
Oh, well, very good, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do just that. Obviously, one of the big stories, you just heard me make mention of it, the thought that Palestinians will now be resettled in South Sudan. Your take on that, sir?
So, I mean, you have to look at this from an overall standpoint. This is one of the first times in a war conflict that we haven't evacuated civilians to safe zones out of the conflict area. I mean, we've tried to create safe zones within Gaza, but Egypt didn't open their borders, and it's been very, very difficult, as you know, to fight an urban warfare with the terrorists entrenched within the civilian population. So this is a development that hopefully will allow for civilians temporarily to be relocated. South Sudan, as you know, has had their own conflicts over the years and is in desperate need of financial support. So this would help their economy as well. So I think that this would be a win-win in order to save the Palestinians who want to live peacefully but are right now in the middle of a war. So hopefully this will work out well. And if it can be managed, it will also give Israel the opportunity, which it has not had up until now, to really go into Gaza and root out the remaining members of Hamas and hopefully return our hostages, both those alive and those who have been murdered.
Scott, not all are jumping for joy with regard to this potential proposal, if you will. The
Correct.
New Zealand Prime Minister now stating that his Israeli counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu, quote, has lost the plot and that Israel's planned occupation of Gaza City is utterly unacceptable. Your take on that?
Well, the Prime Minister of England and France have not exactly made some very positive statements over the past few weeks to begin with, in making statements to reward Hamas and terrorism by recognizing a Palestinian state, which, while symbolic, has also basically given Hamas the opportunity to entrench themselves and remove themselves from the ceasefire negotiations, because if you're winning without having to give up anything, then why would you give something up? So, it's a little bit interesting that, England is sitting there complaining about Benjamin Netanyahu and trying to do something to save civilians when all they do over the course of the past almost 2 years is criticize Israel for killing civilians. I think the underlying issue is everybody thinks that this is Israel's plot to remove Palestinians from Gaza. And the Prime Minister has made it very, very clear that this is temporary. The housing is temporary, and it is just an opportunity for Israel to root out Hamas without the civilian casualties that have occurred throughout this war, which Israel does not want and has done everything they can to prevent. But again, when you have such an urban warfare in one of the most densely populated areas in the world, and you have terrorists who are not in uniform, and they basically are within the population, stealing all the humanitarian aid that's been coming in. This is an opportunity, and I find it very, very interesting that those in Europe are complaining in this direction when all they did was complain in the opposite direction up until now, that maybe they should take a step back and instead of always finding an angle to criticize Israel, to work with Israel in order to save as many civilians as we can.
Scott, it's no secret when war is upon us, a number of terrible things happen. In this case, I want to focus on the several journalists that happen to be killed within Gaza City. We now know that protests have continued around the world against Israel's targeted assassination, what many say, of the 4 Al Jazeera journalists and 2 freelancers. This has really sparked global condemnation of Israel, has it not?
It has, yet the Prime Minister himself put out, I think on his own social media, one of those journalists in a photo with Yahya Sinwar, who is the former head of Hamas in Gaza, who was the architect of October 7th, arm in arm, and they have documentation that that particular journalist was very much entrenched and not only complicit with Hamas, but was in charge of Hamas operations. So, it's very interesting. People don't realize that the journalists that are in the Gaza Strip really fall into 3 categories. You have journalists who are part of Hamas, you have journalists who are sympathetic to Hamas, and then you have journalists who are trying their best to report from Gaza but are intimidated by Hamas. So, while it's questionable If all of these journalists who were killed in the process fit into the first category, it is without question, certainly a number of them did. And if they are, acting and working for Hamas, then they are no different than any other Hamas operative.
Scott, I got about a minute left, and obviously we have discussed any and everything. However, we have not touched on the hostages that still remain in the custody of Hamas. And yet again, I know time is short, but to the extent of perhaps the headlines are now something that focuses on something else other than that. Your thoughts and feelings, knowing that, as I just stated, we're now 6-7 minutes into this conversation, and it's at this point I'm bringing up the hostages.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that even if you didn't bring them up. All of this, and we've said this many times, you and I together, all Hamas has to do is put down their arms and return the hostages, both, again, alive and those that they've murdered, and this all ends. Israel doesn't want to reoccupy Gaza. They don't want to be in a war. They're having conversations with all of their Arab neighbors about entering into peace agreements, and yet, Hamas continues to put their own civilians' lives in jeopardy, and refuses to even enter into a ceasefire for a partial return of our hostages. And like I said, I just landed this morning. The entire country is focused on one thing, and that is ending this war and getting our hostages back. But obviously, you can't leave entity that's just there has to be a combination. We want our hostages back. We want Hamas to put down their weapons. And if they would do those two things, all of this would end today. There wouldn't be negotiations, and the entire country is on edge, and they have been now. I believe it's 676 days, which, if you put it into perspective, when the Iranians took over our embassy back in 1979. It lasted for less than 450 days, and we're almost double. We're heading towards double that now. And we saw the pictures of the two men being held hostage, who are emaciated. We're talking about famine in Gaza. Lord knows what the other hostages look like if these are the two that they put front and center. But we have to do everything we can to get them back.
Yet again, which is more reason why we all need to pray for peace within that region. We have been speaking with Scott Feltman, Executive Vice President of One Israel Fund, chatting with us from Jerusalem today. Scott, always good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us.
Pleasure's always mine, Guy. Thank you, and have a great day.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take our first break. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, it's hard to believe that school will soon resume for millions of kiddos. And although the focus will be on getting a good education, research has shown that in order for that to happen, one must feel good about themselves. In this case, we're talking about a fresh haircut. Hence, enter Craig Black's 8th annual Community Cuts for Kids. 2 dates, 2 locations, Sunday, August 17th at the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center in Greenbelt, and of course, Sunday, August 24th at the Arc in the heart of Southeast DC. Here to tell us all about it is Craig Black, radio personality, philanthropist, and Calvin Hawkins, Prince George's County Council member at large, both of which kind enough to join me right here on the Live Zone. What's up, guys? Always good to see you, and welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Guy. Thanks for having us, Guy. We appreciate you.
But of course, this is a big deal, Craig. I have known you, gosh, I guess for over 20 years. I don't want to date myself here. And you have, well, obviously a staple within the community, radio personality extraordinaire. But not only that, Craig, since day one, it has been incumbent upon you to give back. That's all you talk about, and that's all you've done. And the proof is in the pudding with, yet again, another Community Cuts for Kids.
Yes, sir, Guy. It's been instilled with me by my mom. It goes back to her. I got to give it all the glory, all the praise to my mother, Miss Dorothy Shields. She put that in me. She was the matriarch of our family, and she took in everybody, you know, whether it was a cousin, a niece, or somebody. She was always to the neighbors. She was always giving back, always doing something in the community. So I just took that from her and I ran with it, you know. Actually, for my radio career, it started at WPGC and DC. I ain't gonna date myself either, Guy. Just running through the streets and doing all the community events with great people like Mr. Calvin Hawkins, you know, taking care of our city. And, you know, it just started from there. Started in St. Louis, and I brought it home to DC, and now we got 8 years of Community Cuts for Kids, man.
Yeah, as the saying goes, started from the bottom, now we're here. In this case, we're here in a major way. And as you stated, Calvin Hawkins is also here, Prince George's County Council member at large. Councilmember Hawkins, yet again, this is something that, as you heard in my intro, that is needed. And what do I mean by that? I think all 3 of us can raise our hand and say, you know what? I remember that first day of school. And obviously, you lay out your clothes on your bed, you get them ready because you want to look good. If you look good, you feel good, and you're more likely to excel once the teacher says it's time to go.
Hey, Guy, having a guy that has 8 years of giving back to the community in this very way, Community Cuts for Kids, and having this chance to work with this Bowie Stater, I'm just humbled, dog. As you know, Sunday we will be over in Greenbelt at Spring Lake Rec Center, and having this opportunity to be there, and certainly having the DNA of the DMV, WPGC 95.5, and having Elzo. We're just going to have a great time seeing those young boys' face light up with those fresh haircuts, the young girls looking beautiful after their hairstyles, and giving out book bags and supplies. And you know, more importantly, it will help them deal with, you know, we call it joning back in the day, but they won't have to put up with all that peer pressure. Craig and his team, they're going to have them looking good. We're going to give out some book bags and some supplies. And like I said, working with WPGC 95.5 and Elzo, we're going to just have a great time. I'm just grateful that my good friend Willie connected all of us, and I have this opportunity to work with this giant in our community, and Craig Black and the Burton and Craig Shields Foundation.
Yeah, yet again, this is truly monumental and truly needed. That's the key, Craig, and you are really filling this void. All right, so we set the stage, and I can tell you right now, you're going to be bombarded with calls, texts, what have you. And so the question is, how does one sign up so that their child can actually get a haircut for free? Because quite honestly, I think I want to sign up, put on some clothes, and make sure that I look like a kid so I can get one as well. And not only that, Craig, but is it too late for, let's say, barbers and stylists to join up as well and assist?
No, guy, it is not. And you always crispy, man. Every time I see you, man, you always looking real good, guy. Come on now, let's give it where it's at. But it's not too late. I always need more barbers and stylists. I always need them. So they can go to the CraigShieldsFoundation.org. Once again, that's the CraigShieldsFoundation.org to register as a barber and stylist and to register for the event. Like Calvin mentioned, this Sunday we'll be hanging out at the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center, 6101 Cherrywood Lane in Greenbelt, Maryland. That's this Sunday and next Sunday. You know, we got 2 days, 2 locations. Next Sunday, August 24th, we'll be at our landmark location. That's the Ark in Southeast Washington, D.C. That's 1901 Mississippi Avenue. And yes, please go online and register. We do take walk-ups, but registered people get preferred service. So we take care of registered people first. And we do boys and girls. We do haircuts and we do styles for both. So all you gotta do is go to the website. All the details are there. And you know, Guy, before you get us up out of here, I gotta show some love to the DC Housing Finance Agency, to the Greenbelt Recreation Committee, and the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center, also to Snob Nails, to my man Raheem Devon with that Love Life Foundation. And we're also in Southeast DC at the Ark on the 24th. We're giving away tennis shoes. Shoes will be given away until they're gone. So that's courtesy of my man Tony over there at Kick Dreams United. Also Malloy Law, Pepco, Shireen Kui Catering. It's a whole family. It's a whole village that makes it happen. My beautiful wife, my family that comes out, and Mr. Calvin Hawkins just doing what he does, man. I appreciate everyone.
Yeah, it's interesting. Mr. Hawkins made mention of joning, and I was going to joan on you, Craig Black, had you not mentioned your wife. You were going to be up the creek without a paddle, my friend.
I got it. I made sure I mentioned her. I made sure I did that.
Guys, I got to run. But yet again, congratulations, two gentlemen that not only talk the talk, but walk the walk on an annual basis. Heck, a daily basis at that. Yet again, it is the 8th annual Community Cuts for Kids. 2 dates, 2 locations. Sunday, August 17th at the Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center in Greenbelt. And then on Sunday, August 24th at the Ark in Southeast DC. Craig Black, Councilmember Calvin Hawkins. Always good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Guy.
You bet. All right, guys, obviously what's happening in Southeast D.C. and in Greenbelt, Maryland. But let's go over the river and through the woods, in this case, over the bridge to Fairfax, Virginia. And when it comes to all things happening in Fairfax, we got, hey, our guy, Vernon Miles with Fairfax Now back here on the Live Zone. Thanks for being patient, Vernon. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, let's jump into it. A lot happening in the Alexandria region. In this case, an Alexandria man charged in a string of business break-ins. Do tell.
Yeah, this is a man, he was already arrested for some other crime. He was in jail already, but he's being charged now with a series of break-ins in Hybla Valley. That's the area of Alexandria, just south of Alexandria. It likes to call itself Alexandria. You can see here they used a rock to kind of smash the front door and get inside. There were several stores along this corridor down there that got hit. Some of these were local restaurants. Some of this was like a car repair shop. And yeah, broke in, stole the money, and left. You can see what the shops were there.
Wow.
Yeah, he was already incarcerated for another crime afterwards, and now he's being charged with these.
Hey, Vernon, perhaps I missed it. Did you make mention of how police were able to apprehend this suspect?
They used the Fairfax County Police worked with the Department of Forensic Science. They used some of that to identify him. As far as I know, yes, he was already charged with another robbery, and
Got it.
kind of related to a string of these.
Okay. Well, hey, yet again, high five going out to the amazing guys and gals within the Fairfax County and or Alexandria Police Department. Hey, let's move on to the next topic, Vernon. In this case, it's all things tennis. You happen to be a big tennis fan?
I happen to not be a big tennis fan. I was trying to come up with a punny headline for this, and it took our whole newsroom, none of us knowing anything about tennis, trying to come up with something funny for this.
Well, guess what, Vernon? I'm joining that club as well. However, I'm discovering it's a sport that we should perhaps all follow. In this case, we're discussing all things about a major bounce back with the reopening of, let's say, a prominent tennis court.
Yeah, bounce back, see what we did there? That's what we settled on. But this is Reston's Barton Hill tennis courts. They've been closed for a year. They needed, from what I understand, some extensive renovations. They needed repaving, restriping, all that stuff. People wanted to turn it into pickleball courts, and they said, no, we're not doing that. That's obviously another whole big controversy in the area. But yeah, they reopened, I believe, last month, and now they're having a big grand reopening celebration next month.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're up to it, I'm up to it. Perhaps we should go there and
We'll give it a shot.
go ahead and give it a try, Vernon.
Yeah,
We'll end with this, and that is, as we've all heard, space the final frontier. However, the new frontier happens to surround all things with regard to NASA remaining tight-lipped about a Discovery space shuttle transfer plans. Do tell.
What a fight. This has been one of the wildest stories we've been covering over in Fairfax. This is the Discovery, which is, to be clear, owned by the Smithsonian. This is not leased like a lot of the stuff in their properties. This was the space shuttle given to the Smithsonian to display at Udvar-Hazy. But now, after the federal appropriations bill said that it needed to be moved to Texas, it is still very unclear under what authority. But NASA is apparently considering this and other space shuttles and orbital launchers that could be sent to Texas.
Really?
As well. So it's a big fight going on right now.
Wow. Out of curiosity, Vernon, have you ever been inside a space shuttle? Got a chance to tour one?
I have never been inside a space. I've been to Udvar-Hazy. I've seen the Discovery there. It's amazing. And everybody who hasn't seen it, go now while it's still here. So.
That's a very good point. Matter of fact, I will put that on my calendar to make sure I, too, don't miss out. Vernon, thanks for being patient, my friend. Always good to see you. Vernon Miles with Fairfax Now joining us right here on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump had a call with Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders ahead of Friday's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Now, Zelensky said that Trump expressed support for a ceasefire during that call. Trump has said both sides will have to give up land to end that war. We can also tell you that just within the last half hour ago or so, while speaking at the Kennedy Center, the president stated that, well, serious consequences could be had if Russia does not come to the table and come with something that would produce something valuable for both sides. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is political strategist and attorney Eric Faddis, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for being patient.
Great to be with you guys.
All right, Eric, so it's the big story of the hour. You just heard me make mention, President Trump speaking at the Kennedy Center just minutes ago. One of the questions posed to the president happened to surround this upcoming meeting between both he and Russian President Vladimir Putin, set to take place on Friday yet again in Alaska. The question is what's it all about? What should happen and what needs to happen in order for this meeting to be deemed a success?
Guy, I think Trump has to be pretty firm about his ability to impose economic sanctions on Russia, on countries that do business with Russia. Look, Russia's economy is okay, but they've been in this war for quite some time. Resources are dwindling. They're having all of these deaths. Now, on the other hand, I think Ukraine is going to have to make some concessions, right or wrong. I think those concessions are likely going to include ceding some territory which Russia is presently occupying. There's Crimea and there's 4 other main territories that are in dispute on this. And so I think both sides are going to have to come towards the other direction and reach some kind of resolution. If not, I think Trump has to consider these severe economic sanctions.
Yeah, yet again, all eyes will be on that summit, that bilateral meeting, if you will, set to get underway on Friday in Alaska. Let's move on to closer to home. In this case, the White House ordering a review of Smithsonian museums and exhibits to ensure alignment with the Trump directive. This has got a lot of folks scratching their heads saying what gives and what could possibly happen as a result of this, Eric.
I think this is an alarming development, Guy. It sort of could be seen as a measure to reshape history in a view that is most favorable to the Trump administration and aligned with their policies. We've seen before the Trump administration has removed references to the Tuskegee Airmen, to Navajo code talkers, to non-white achievements throughout American history. And I think that is problematic, and to try and arguably erase some of that history because they don't like it is really an ominous development, and hopefully receive substantial pushback.
Yeah, to your point, something that yet again could be very concerning should history be removed. Those who are in power, pretty much history has shown, can direct which way as to how we remember history and how it's shaped. Very interesting. Eric, I want to move on because I have about 4 minutes left, and this is a big topic that a lot of folks have been discussing. In this case, it surrounds 10 years after the Supreme Court extended marriage rights to same-sex couples nationwide. The justices this fall will now consider for the first time whether to take up a case that asks them to overturn that decision. Kim Davis, the former Kentucky County Clerk who was jailed for 6 days back in 2015 after refusing to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple on religious grounds, now appealing a $100,000 jury verdict for emotional damages, plus $260,000 for attorney fees. Now, Davis argues First Amendment protection for free exercise of religion. Well, really, as she states, she has been treated wrong and needs to have justice done immediately. Now, the petition appears to mark the first time since 2015 that the court has been formally asked to overturn the landmark marriage decision. Your take on all of this, Eric?
I think there's a reasonable likelihood that the court is at least going to consider this petition. Look, and I think what it does is it sort of pits the 14th Amendment substantive due process rights, which the court has determined guarantees the right to marry to same-sex couples, against the First Amendment free exercise clause, where someone is alleging that, hey, doing something as a government official is against my own religion. And so that's why she didn't issue the marriage license to the same-sex individuals. I think the court's going to grapple with, hey, does the 14th Amendment prevail or does the First Amendment prevail? And I think in a normal world, we would think that the prior precedent would just be upheld, but this is not necessarily a normal world.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is not necessarily a normal case as well. Davis is seen as one of the only Americans currently with legal standing to really bring a challenge to the precedent. And perhaps you just addressed it, but my question would be why?
Yeah, so in order to bring any kind of case, you have to have standing, which means you have to be personally aggrieved by some sort of governmental action. What Kim Davis is alleging is that not only were her free exercise rights impinged upon by the government in forcing her or trying to force her to issue this license, but on top of that, she did have to serve some jail time, and she is responsible for 6-figure damages for her actions. And so she's saying, hey, I'm personally aggrieved. I am the right type of person with standing to challenge this same-sex ruling because it personally affected me in a negative way.
All right, we'll end with this, Eric. I got about a minute left in this case. We know that a strong majority of Americans favor equal marriage rights. Support appears to have now softened in recent years. That, according to a recent Gallup poll, 60% of Americans support same-sex marriages back in 2015, rising to 70% support in 2025. But that level has somewhat plateaued since 2020. Your take on that?
You know, the Supreme Court, whether they should or not, considers prevailing public sentiment about issues. When you look at the same-sex ruling, they in fact talked about sort of the evolution of marriage and the tolerance towards folks of the same sex getting married. Now, is this switch in public sentiment, or arguable switch, going to influence how the justices review this case and whether they think that the right to marry for same-sex individuals is still a fundamental right? In theory, it could.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Yet again, Eric Faddis, attorney and political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
My pleasure, Guy.
All right, guys, we are 1 minute, or actually it is now the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, Professor Alan Sanders joins us. Yet again, the topic of discussion, this upcoming meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 2 minutes past the top of the hour. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet Friday in Alaska to hammer out a ceasefire deal between Russia and Ukraine. President Trump has warned Russia several times to stop the fighting, but so far every deadline has been ignored. So, what are the chances a deal will be struck? To answer that, we welcome Alan Sanders, former Time Magazine senior reporter and professor of political science at St. Peter's University, back here on the Live Zone. Alan, always good to see you, sir. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Guy. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Mr. Sanders, obviously, we saw the president speak from the Kennedy Center just minutes ago, during which he took questions. One of the questions posed to the president happened to be, what happens when you sit down to meet with Vladimir Putin? If an agreement is not reached, that question was posed, will the Russians actually see a response? The president said yes. The question was then posed, what will that response be? The president then stated, that's for me to know. I'm curious, what exactly needs to happen in order for this meeting to be a success?
Well, it's anyone's guess. It's supposed to be a listening exercise, according to the White House. So presumably, Trump will listen to Putin and Putin will listen to Trump. What's clear is that the Europeans are concerned, as is Mr. Zelensky. They had a virtual meeting together with President Trump just a few hours ago or moments ago. And what emerged from that Zoom meeting is that the Europeans say what should be done first is a ceasefire. And Mr. Trump has said yes, he wants to push for a ceasefire when he meets with Mr. Putin. But there are other conditions that the Europeans want to be sure, and that is that Ukraine must be at the table when anything is actually negotiated. And they also want some security guarantees for Ukraine because they're also afraid for their own security. So they believe first Ukraine needs to be secure. And then, of course, they'll figure out what they want in terms of their security interest. So the most that can be expected, according to the statements from everyone, is that Trump and Putin will work out a framework for a ceasefire. What that framework will be, we don't know. And of course, Ukraine will have to agree to whatever the framework and the conditions and the stipulations are of that ceasefire. So let's see if there is a push for a ceasefire and whether that actually gains any kind of traction.
Yeah, well, speaking of traction, we know that the president actually showing up, if you will, has gained a lot of traction throughout the media worldwide. I guess my question to you is, why do you think the president needs to, in essence, meet face-to-face with Putin in order for this deal to be struck?
Well, it's a good question because if it's a listening exercise, that's what ambassadors are supposed to do. Ambassadors listen, they share information with other countries, and then they report back to the Secretary of State and to the President. So one has to wonder, what is a listening exercise for two leaders? Typically, those exercises are done below, and when they meet, they actually reach an agreement. The other element is that Trump is really an ego-driven person. He believes that he is capable of doing almost anything. He has a huge ego. He believes that he can do what other people cannot do. And so he does believe in face-to-face conversations because he thinks he can achieve things that other people can't. Of course, I'll leave it up to your viewers to figure out whether these face-to-face negotiations have yielded anything. I draw your attention back to the North Korean face-to-face meeting between President Trump and the North Korean leader. Nothing seems to have emerged of substance from those meetings.
Very good. Mr. Sanders, we know of a thing called trust. Perhaps a lot of us, we hope that you can trust someone when it comes to developing a relationship. We trusted you to be here on time, and I got to tell you, boy, were you so much ahead of time. We trust you, sir. I'm getting to the fact that can Putin be trusted with regard to whatever he says to President Trump, whereas we have seen in the past that, well, some of the things that he stated that could very well happen did not happen.
Right. Well, the Europeans certainly don't believe that Putin can be trusted just on his word. They really want some security guarantees for Ukraine. Also, it should be noted that the French and the British have been in discussions to determine whether they want their nuclear umbrella, because they do have nuclear weapons, whether they want their common nuclear umbrella to be extended to other European countries. So clearly the French and the British don't trust Putin. They believe that deterrence backed by military might is the way to convince Putin to any kind of a deal. And so, just take a look at the Europeans and their approach to whether Mr. Putin can be trusted.
All right, we'll end with this, Mr. Sanders, and that is, well, happens to be another president involved. Oh, yeah, Zelensky. But apparently he has not been invited. Is that a mistake?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why there was this call, this virtual call today between European leaders, Mr. Zelensky and Mr. Trump. They wanted to make clear that Zelensky has to be included in negotiations. Zelensky himself wanted to make clear, and that's why they had this pre-meeting call with Mr. Trump to indicate that anything that's decided regarding Ukraine and the war between Ukraine and Russia has to involve Ukraine.
Yet again, Alan Sanders, former Time Magazine senior reporter and professor of political science at St. Peter's University, one of the best to ever do it, joining us right here on The Live Zone. Truly appreciate your time, sir.
My pleasure, Guy. Take care.
Very good. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Our Wednesday Talkers coming up next, right here on The Live Zone. Guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, time for our Wednesday Talkers. Look, we got a newbie.
Yes.
Well, sort of.
Kind of.
JoJo Cruz, the one and only Prince of Pop Culture, joining us right here on the Live Zone.
Thank
Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I always get a chance to see you out and about, but yeah, but never actually in person now
this is
on the
our first
LZ.
Time. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, man.
Well, but of course. So let's jump into it. In
The
this
legendary
case,
Guy
well, I
Lambert.
wouldn't say all that, but I'll tell you, some of these stories are going to be legendary by
Okay.
the time we're done with them.
Let's do it.
We're going to kick it off with a new study that found couples bond over this nasty habit. Well, they are likely to stay together. JoJo Cruz, can you imagine what it is? Any guesses?
Ooh, I'm scared to guess.
Then let me tell you.
Nasty's the key word. I don't know. Let's wait.
In this case, those who gossip.
Okay.
Apparently, when you gossip, a lot of couples create somewhat of a bond. Not only that, but they share stuff that perhaps they wouldn't necessarily share with others, and that bond continues to grow. The key part about all of this is that, well, you don't gossip about each other while gossiping together. What do you think about that?
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of couples do that. You know, it's like bedroom talk. You know, the guys talk about their friend drama, and the girls talk about their friend drama. Guys gossip a lot too. That's the thing people don't realize. Guys gossip as much as women do. So it makes sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah, it's so funny because I sat here thinking about my personal relationship, and yeah, I guess at some point I'm like, hey, you know what, and such, and I'm not the one that will, in essence, initiate it. But at the same time, once it starts, forget the tea. I want sweet tea.
And it doesn't feel like gossip. You're just conversing with your partner, but it's gossip. Yeah, either way.
Gossip all the way. I guess the key is also you just got to make sure it doesn't get too heavy, so that way, you know, we're all still cool. I don't want to, let's say, upset my significant other as we go about to gossip.
Yeah, don't tell your keep it out what the people are saying about her or him. Keep that to yourself. Don't gossip about your partners. So.
Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly,
in this case, happy couple.
Exactly.
This next story, JoJo Cruz, I got to tell you, this one threw me for a loop. So obviously, when in a relationship or entering into a relationship, you always want to impress that perfect person you're dating, your boo, right? Well, one guy that happened to serve as an intern at NASA said, you know what? I want to give my girl the moon.
Wow.
Literally. So what did he do? Well, in essence, he stole, get this, some $21 million worth of moon rocks from, well, Johnson Space Center down in Houston.
Wow.
After that, he took it home. Then what did he do? Well, he scattered it under his bed and on his bed. Why? Well, he wanted to, let's just say, have a little nookie with his girlfriend on the moon.
Wow.
To which he commenced, and they did just that. He was later arrested, sentenced to 8 years in the slammer. However, he only served 6. Upon release, he said it was well worth it because he promised his girl the moon.
It was worth it? Jail time is worth the moon? Wow, okay.
This one just threw me for a loop. I have never...
Did she ask for this, or did he just voluntarily bring home a case full of, like, rocks?
I'm going to tell you what happened. They were gossiping.
Right, exactly, there we go. He's like, you know what I would like? I would like some rocks under the bed.
Anything that you've ever done to go above and beyond for perhaps someone you're interested in?
I've done, like, you know, for my partner, I've rented out a yacht for, you know, birthdays or things like that. Those are, like, normal. Well, I don't know if that's considered normal, but things like that. I wouldn't steal from my job or an employer. Like, especially if you're an intern, you're just trying to get your foot in the door. You're not even in there yet. Now you're out the door.
He's interning to become a criminal.
Exactly.
How about that?
That's crazy. No, absolutely not.
I just think that is, so $21 million worth of moon rocks. How many times would you have to, let's say, sneak into the lab, you know, put it in your bag?
Exactly.
It just reminds me, what was that, Shawshank Redemption, where they're putting all the dirt, whatever that movie is, in their pockets and trying to walk out with it.
So instead of the person that's stealing your lunch out of the fridge, she's the one that's stealing the rocks from different pockets of the office. the rock bandit.
Oh, gosh, kids, don't do that at home. That's the lesson here.
No.
We'll end with this, and that is, I got to tell you, I am not the biggest Beyonce fan, but I absolutely love her. I got a chance to go see her at the Cowboy Carter tour. And now we're discovering that Beyonce is officially, and it's hard for me to say this, an Emmy Award winner. How did it take so long?
I know.
The Television Academy unveiled the 2025 Emmy winners for its juried categories, including animation, costume, emerging media program, and motion design. Bey took home the award for outstanding costumes for variety, nonfiction, or reality programming for her costume design work on her 2024 NFL halftime performance. What are you thinking about that?
Absolutely well deserved. Did you see that show? It was amazing.
I mean,
like, the whole production was just on, like, spot on. So it's long overdue. Now she just got to work on the OT. She got the
That is so true. So what is it? Grammy, Oscar,
and Tony,
And okay.
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well,
so she's halfway there.
That is amazing. You know, you just think about, we live in a time where there will be one time where she is no longer, you and I will no longer be here, nor will she, but to know that we lived during that time where Beyonce was queen and reigned supreme. How
Absolutely.
cool is that?
Awesome. Just amazing. The tour was amazing. I loved every part of it. It was just a great show. She deserves all of it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what she does next.
I hear it's going to be perhaps a rock and roll album.
I know. We can't wait. Maybe she can do something on Broadway so we can get that Tony going.
The main thing is we will not gossip about Beyonce.
Exactly.
Joe Cruz
or
joining
still.
us. Folks want to get a chance to follow you. How would one go about to do so?
Instagram, JoJo Cruz, the Prince of Pop Culture Podcast on Instagram and on YouTube. Go subscribe, like, share. We have a contest running now giving away Chris Brown tickets for the Breezy Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So if you want some of those tickets, you better go follow.
You got my attention. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me finish this
JoJo
interview so I can
Cruz,
follow him.
Prince of
and
Pop
keep
Culture
these
Podcast.
tickets.
Let's go.
JoJo Cruz joining us right here on the Live Zone.
Good to see you again.
All right, guys. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, joined now with my buddy, your friend, our friend, hey, everybody's friend, producer Chris, host of Do You Like It or Not?
Everybody's friend, because everybody can join me live
There you
each
go.
night at 7:30. And I want to make one thing crystal clear. We start at 7:30. The New Heights podcast with Taylor Swift drops at 7. So you have 30 full minutes to cram it all in before you switch over to either YouTube or Fox Local to join me. And we will make it our first topic. That's my promise to you. So I will try to get as caught up as possible so that we have something to talk about. So all the Swifties out there watching, you can join me live tonight in the Lion Zoom room. All you got to do is scan that QR code and we can talk all about it. But we do have some other topics, of course, too.
I'm excited about it.
And you may have seen this one earlier this week. Cristiano Ronaldo got engaged to his girlfriend after 10 years and multiple children. Oof. He waited a little while, and that has some people theorizing that's why he went so big with that rock on her finger. You may have seen it right at the top there. One writer for People magazine called that Epcot Center on her finger. The estimate, 37 carats worth $5 million.
Wow.
That's what jewelers who have examined it estimate. It was massive. After that long of a wait, maybe that's what she wanted. Maybe that's what she expected or deserved.
Yeah.
But the question is, does size matter? That's a question we ask ourselves constantly here on Fox 5. But
Speak for yourself, my friend.
In this particular case, though, we were talking about engagement ring size because it has been trending larger and larger.
Yeah.
Lauren Sanchez, who got married to Jeff Bezos, the Amazon founder, earlier this year, her ring, they guessed somewhere in the 30-plus carat range as well. Cost a little less, they think around $2 million, but flash back to some of our other big name brides-to-be. Victoria Beckham's just 10 simple carats. Beyonce's 18 carat range. The author in People magazine makes the case that they are too big these days. My question for you, is there a limit to how big you would want to go when it comes to an engagement ring?
It depends on how much you love them.
It depends on how much. So is a smaller ring mean you love them less,
So,
Guy Lambert?
No, I would say this. I thought the rule is it's what, 10% of what your annual salary is? But then there's a couple of other things in play, and I think the ladies are going to like this.
Factors, for sure.
That is, look how long he made her wait. Look how long he waited to propose. 10 years. I mean, I'm okay with that, but I know a lot of perhaps ladies are saying, are you serious?
Yeah, exactly.
I deserve that. And perhaps that's what he said, that's what she said.
His annual salary has got to be up there as well, as we know, as one of the world's most famous football players of all time. The other, I mean, I remember those old commercials, how else do you make like 2 months salary last forever type of thing. But there has to, I mean, how do you even walk around with a ring that size on your finger?
Oh, you don't.
Each and every single day. A, and B, man, oh man. Like,
yeah. But the question is, if it doesn't work out, do you give the ring back?
Oh, that is a good question.
That should be the second question tonight.
Or are you just retiring with what you just earned on that? Because that will just keep going up in value, I'm sure, too.
Wow. Oh, gosh,
Let
I
us
can't
know.
wait. All right, tonight, 7:30?
7:30. Do you like it or not?
Oh, man, this is going to be a good one. All right. You know what?
Get some female opinions
I might
besides
call
these
in.
two
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, exactly.
You might just see me pop up. I just want to see what's going on with it. Truly awesome. Yet again, 7:30 tonight. Tell a friend, bring a friend. Click on that QR code right there. You haven't picked up your phone yet. Pick up your phone. There you go. Now click on it, and that way you can join in the Zoom room.
In the Lion Zoom room,
as well.
and you can share your opinions as well.
Awesome. Producer Chris joining us right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you tonight, 7:30. We'll be right back, guys. How about we find out how that weather is looking? Tucker Barnes joining us for a latest update on our forecast.
Hello, friend.
What's up, sir?
You having a good day so far?
Yeah, no complaints. It was started to drizzle on my way in.
Yeah, a little bit. I have a complaint. I've been at work since 5 a.m. and only in the last 10 minutes did I realize it's National Left-Handers Day.
Are you? So I take it you're a left-hander.
I'm left-handed, and you know, every year you right-handed people try to sneak this past me so that I don't get to enjoy my day.
Well, today is your day, my friend.
Okay, good. I do everything left-handed.
I'm pretty sure you do.
You've got a dirty mind. 80 in Washington. We're warm, we're sticky, we're humid out there, and we are looking at the possibility of a couple late-day thunderstorms. In fact, if we're going to get storms today, or if we're going to get storms this week, the best chance would be later today, as we've got what's trying to be a cold front, Guy. I mean, why I say trying is it's not really going to make it through the area, not really change up our air mass. Remember last week we had the beautiful conditions around here? This one won't be able to deliver that, but it may deliver some needed rain and showers over the next couple hours. We've had a few earlier today, and we're likely to see at least scattered showers and thunderstorms redevelop this afternoon in a warm and very muggy atmosphere. Steve Shenevy and I were having a contest earlier today. How long can you go outside before the first bead of sweat on your face? I think it's like over-under would be like a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like, it's one of those days.
What did he say?
Dew points in the mid-70s. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So it was basically just me telling him what was going to happen.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. There's you can see the elongated front there, all the way down into Tennessee. There, parts of northern Tennessee, Georgia, at this hour, and that's Futurecast 3:30. Popping a couple storms. If we're going to have a main event, Guy, it would probably be between about 3 and 6 tonight, and there may be a line of showers and thunderstorms that come through. We'll look for it. Either way, it all wraps up by sunset tonight. We'll reset. And it's not that the chances for storms are zero tomorrow, just a lesser chance, and again on Friday. And the story getting into the weekend will be a chance for late day shower and or thunderstorm each day, but widely scattered. So, you know, not the kind of stuff where you got to cancel plans. You just got to kind of look out late in the day.
Okay.
And a hot weekend ahead. Around 90 Friday, Saturday. I include Friday as my weekend. And then the hot day will be Sunday.
Okay, good stuff. Okay. I would shake your hand, but if we do so, make sure it's your right hand.
No, do it with left hand. We do it with flip
Okay.
Come on, why so hesitant?
Okay, well, you said you do a lot with your hand.
Not like we do.
Tucker Barnes, all things weather. Hey, guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app and take that forecast with you on the go. Well, one of the top stories obviously happens to be National Guard troops now on the ground in the district. This as President Trump continues his crackdown on crime. Overnight, there was a much more visible presence of federal law enforcement in the city. And while the mayor and police chief are asking residents to remain calm, many are concerned about what's happening in their neighborhoods. Earlier today, both Mayor Bowser and D.C.'s top cop, Pamela Smith, spoke exclusively with Fox 5's Marissa Mitchell. Among the topics of discussion is Pamela Smith still the chief of police? How will resources be deployed? And how does the mayor really feel about President Trump intervening? Let's take a look.
Thank you to both of you for joining us here live on Fox 5 to discuss this very important story, not just for D.C., but I will argue the entire country. Mayor Bowser, we've gotten through the first night of this federal surge. What do you want the people of D.C. to know in regards to the coordination with the city in this regard?
Well, I want them to know that their chief of police, our chief of police, Pamela Smith, who has years and years of experience working both at the local level and the federal level, is working with federal law enforcement partners to help deploy the surge resources, the additional resources in a way that is going to help us continue to drive down crime.
What does that look like, Chief Smith? How will this work? Will certain areas receive more coverage? What's the details on the strategic plan?
So what I'll say is this. We have heard from many of our community members since I've been here over the last 2.5 years. And one of the things that has been very concerning for me is areas around the city where there's crime. And you know we have our officers in certain places. This is a great opportunity for us to build upon continuing to drive down crime with our federal law enforcement partners. And what that looks like is the U.S. Marshal has an inter-agency incident management team where we will assist them with coordinated efforts around our city. I mean, you've been here, you've reported out on different areas around our city where we've seen spikes in crime. So what we're going to do is build up on that and working collaboratively with our U.S. Marshals, our DEA, and all of the other federal partners here to ensure that we're placing resources around our city in those areas where we've seen an impact at this increase in crime.
The White House announced 23 arrests last night, including a homicide, DUI, fare evasion, and other crimes. Is that on par with what we generally see on a weeknight in D.C., more or less?
Not necessarily. I mean, remember, you're talking about 500 additional personnel in the District of Columbia. And as you know, we've talked about the fact that we're down in numbers with our police officers. And so this enhanced presence clearly is going to impact us in a positive way.
You said a positive way, Chief, but there are some concerns if it is a positive or a negative. Some people, Mayor, right in the middle. Do you believe this makes D.C. safer?
This is what I know, and this is what the chief was alluding to, Marissa. We have been, over the last several years, focused on hiring more MPD officers. We're at just over 3,100 officers. We like to be at 3,800 officers. So to the extent that you see the federal surge creating more arrests, taking more guns, MPD with MPD officers would do the same thing. So I think that we need to be very, very focused on how we recruit, retain officers, how we make sure our policy environment promotes accountability for people who use guns in our city. And those things combined will make our city safe.
What about people who are concerned if someone approaches them and goes, hey, I'm a federal agent? You know, how should they react, and will MPD still be the main and lead agency responding to 911 calls?
So we're going to respond to those calls together. If the team is out there, it's a collaborative effort right now, right? We have partnered with our federal law enforcement agencies that are here, and so we go to respond to a call for service anywhere across the city. We will be partnered with our federal partners, and we'll work together.
But those agents will be identifiable for people who are concerned about that.
They are identifiable. They have their own agency logos. They have their exterior vests, whether it's HSI, whether it's FBI, DEA. They have the visible agency logos, so you will know who they are.
All right, Mayor Bowser, I understand you met with Attorney General Pam Bondi and others yesterday. One question I've gotten repeatedly since is, what is the gauge or the measure of success when it comes to this 30-day period? Do you get any insight on that yesterday?
Well, I think, and I want to thank Attorney General Bondi. I reached out to her. I asked for the meeting. She set it up in less than 24 hours. She also had all of her senior team meetings, including directors of major agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Marshal Service. We had our directors, Deputy Mayor, the Chief, and all of my senior management, so that we are talking through our issues. So just like the executive order says, that we're coordinating through Attorney General Bondi's office. We certainly want to know what we're being measured against, and I think they regard it as a success to have more presence and to take more guns off the street. And we do too. That's what MPD works on every single day, is taking guns off the street. But they also said that this is a surge and that we are looking to evaluate it in the 30 days that the order lays out.
Okay, so you didn't get any hard, measure, but...
We didn't get any hard measure. And again, we know how the feelings of crime and perceptions of crime are sometimes different than seeing numbers go down. And we've seen numbers go down, let me be clear. Over the last 2 years, we have reached a 30-year low in violent crime. What the chief and all of us hear from time to time, though, is that we don't want any crime. And if we are able to put more police on the streets, we want to grow our numbers at MPD, because we know that being able to have a local known police department in neighborhoods generates trust and helps communities help the police make them safer.
In the meeting, did you all talk about the homeless encampments that I know that the president says that he wants to get rid of, and people are concerned, well, what does that mean for the unhoused, essentially?
Well, we didn't talk about it in that meeting. It was pretty focused on public safety issues. I had an opportunity with my city administrator and other team members to have a community discussion last night. And Marissa, as you know, we already have extensive outreach to our unhoused residents, some of them already on federal property, some of them at other sites throughout the city. We have shelter capacity and we want them to come in. That's always our message. It's especially our message right now. We want you to come into shelter, and our outreach workers can tell you how to do it. Concerned community members can call us at 311, and we can get a outreach worker out to talk to a person about coming in.
With the 30-year low in violent crime, Chief Smith, is there anything you think you could have done differently to avoid or thwart what has happened, or do you think in some ways it was just bound to happen because other forces wanted it to?
Well, I think I'll start by saying that, we work with our federal partners all the time, and I think that's really critical for people to understand that these relationships are not new. The surge of law enforcement personnel, I tell you, it will help me to do the things that I need to do. And to the mayor's point, we're down almost 800 police officers. And so this is an opportunity for us to really focus on, number one, building those relationships with our federal partners. But then after the surge is over, right, being able to continue those relationships. So when we have opportunities where we can do small surges or takedowns across our city, we can count on them to be a part of that with us.
Mayor Bowser, in recent years, you seem to have had a cooperative and diplomatic relationship with President Trump, especially when it came to the RFK Stadium deal and such. But with all of this happening over the last few days, where does that relationship stand now?
I'm the mayor and he's the president. I mean, that's always been our relationship, and the D.C. mayor and the president of the United States will always have probably more interaction than any city in the rest of our country. So we're going to keep doing our job, and we're working right now. Our main point of contact on this surge is the Attorney General Bondi, who I have found to be very straightforward. And we got some very positive information, I think, that came out of yesterday's meeting. Our director of our forensics lab was told that the U.S. Attorney and the D.C. Forensics Lab are now working together again, and we think that is very, very good for public safety.
Do you think in terms of people, maybe visitors wanting to come to D.C., being maybe nervous now because of the law enforcement presence, are you concerned about that? Because I heard from a restaurant owner who says he hasn't gotten the foot traffic in the past couple of days.
Well, we're always concerned about that, the real story of D.C. coming out. And out of this whole discussion, what has to be clear is that D.C. is not a dirty city. D.C. has beautiful neighborhoods across all 8 wards. We have an incredible team of local government workers that work every day to pick up the trash, clean the streets, cut the trees, cut the grass. We're going to have a incredible cadre of teachers and educators going back next week to get ready for the first day of school in just under 2 weeks. So our city is running. We take care of ourselves. We're operating in a fiscal environment that's difficult, but we are maintaining our high level of services.
In saying that, I noticed, and maybe you've seen some of the memes going around, that of the cities that have been seemingly targeted by President Trump, they're urban cores, predominantly with marginalized communities, vote heavily Democratic. How much of this do you believe is out of genuine safety concern versus politically and socially motivated?
Well, I think for the purpose of our conversation today, what's important is the reality that we're dealing with. That in D.C., the President of the United States can make an emergency declaration. And it doesn't really matter what the numbers say. He can make an emergency declaration. Now, what we want to do is make sure that this federal surge is useful to us. And that's what the chief has been very, very good in working with the federal leadership and accomplishing. So Let's keep working together. Let's stay safe. Let's be smart. I know people have democracy concerns and they want to express themselves. And this is still America. This is still our nation's capital. And I just encourage everybody to be peaceful, follow the law, and go about your daily lives, including taking advantage of our great nightlife.
All right, Mayor Bowser, Chief Smith, thank you so much for your time. And thank you all for your questions, those who sent them to the station as well as on Instagram Live. We appreciate it. In the rain, we got a little drizzle here. We'll have much more with Good Day DC.
So there you have it. It appears both the mayor and police chief remain optimistic about their now partnership with the federal government. As the thought of the federal government taking over the D.C. police force continues to sink in, many are now speaking out. In this case, what can be done in order to curtail negative influences within our nation's youth? Joining us to discuss just that and so much more is Dr. Daniel Malloy, nationally recognized author and family consultant, back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you again, Dr. Malloy. Welcome back to the show.
Good to see you, Guy. Nice to be here. Very excited for this opportunity to speak.
Yeah, well, you do amazing work, sir. In this case, you say a strong focus really needs to fall on our youth, and perhaps no one can have more of an influence than their fathers. Before you answer that, you just heard what the mayor had to say. You just heard what the police chief had to say as well. And yet again, the focus is what's happening now. Perhaps your approach is, what can we do prior to that?
Yes, a lot of the time is that the fathers need to be around, and this is the optimal time for a father to step up in this role to help with these youths. I mean, we're at a critical point here. Our number one concern is the safety and stability of our youth, and we need to make that a top priority. Aside from the political stuff that's going on, we need to really focus and step up as fathers to show some leadership in our community.
So with regard to making sure that you bring this to fruition, what are some of the tactics, if you will, that you can share with us that you would like to focus on so that it becomes a reality?
Well, first and foremost, fathers need to be present and visible in the household. We need to make sure that even if you're not a father, you need to be a role model for some of these children that are, and especially our youth that are in the streets of right now. We don't need to be going back and forth with people in law enforcement. We need to maybe be able to teach and model respect as we navigate this intense climate that we're in. Also, we need to help direct individuals and youth, especially with purpose. Have them doing purpose, not just sitting outside. Have them in activities. There's abundance of things in this city. Guy, I talked to the director of the Parks and Recreation for about 2 hours last night in DC, and she has so many programs that these youths can get involved in that we just really need to be pushing these guys into to avoid any confrontations, especially in this climate that we're in now.
Yeah, I assume you're making reference to Thenie Freeman, one of the good friends right here on the Live Zone as well. Dr. Malloy, studies have shown that when fathers are active, as you just made mention, and engaged, kids are more likely to stay in school. And when I hear that and I think about that, the first thing that I think of, what my niece would say is, duh. And so with that being said, what is it exactly that you and I can do in order to make sure that that actually is the case?
Well, one of the things that I would suggest is to everyone here, including yourself and myself, we all have family members. Reach out to those family members, especially the youth, especially if you know that they're in DC, you know that they're participating in activities. You probably want to reach out to your first and foremost, your family members. Reach out to them, get a pulse of how they're doing. Then what you could do is start looking at activities that can help with their time and be able to get those guys involved in more things that are structured and out of the way, right? The first thing we can do as family members, we're all uncles, we're all brothers, we're all men that have family members around. We can step up to our family members first, ensure that they know what programs are here, work with the Parks and Recreation, work with the several different programs in the city, and make sure that these children understand that they have other opportunities that they can spend their time.
Dr. Malloy, I would assume we have a number of fathers, and quite honestly, all folks that will be reaching out to you in the near future after seeing this interview. What's one of the things that you really want to stress to them when they pick up the phone or reach out to you via email? What's something that you can definitely drive home that they can walk away with and immediately make a change?
Your presence. Your presence matters the most. Your presence. You're being able to talk to individuals that are in your family, individuals that are not necessarily in your family, but in your community, to be able to drive home the message that time is of the importance. And your time as a youth in this city, we need to be working on different opportunities so you can use your time wisely. So that's when people call us. One of the things we try to do is to try to activate these individuals that are fathers in the community. And that means being outside, being present for these young individuals to know that there's a quote unquote OG around, so you can be able to understand it. You don't have to make certain decisions. This person is here to help guide you. And last thing, Guy, I work with so many athletes that do not have a father figure. And, one thing the thing that you can do is to make sure you call them, check up on them. Make sure that they understand that you care about them. And just, I've got athletes right now that's in college and playing football and they're at camp. I give them a pulse check. You can do the same thing. I have a lot of kids that we work with that I just sit down and call and say, hey, man, how's your day going? What do you have planned? What can I do to help? That is very, very important when it comes down to your relationship with the youth. People know me as a person that doesn't cut corners, and also a person that is able to help out and reach anybody that asks me for help. So that's one of the things that you can do that I would try to drive home to individuals. As soon as we get on the phone, we start talking about what we can do as men to help out in our community.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Dr. Daniel Malloy, nationally recognized author, family consultant, and as you put it, a straight shooter. Absolutely love it. Dr. Malloy, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the Live Zone.
Thank you, Guy. Have a good day.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, let's have a little fun, shall we? Poet Taylor joins us next. Celebrity Dish coming up in a couple of minutes right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We are just 10 minutes away from, well, you already know it, The Take right here on Fox 5. Hence, we saved the best for last. I know she's going to like that. I'm referring to our very own Poet Taylor. Midday Shenanigans on WPGC 95.5 joins us for a Celebrity Dish right here on the LZ. What's up, my friend?
So happy to be here. Would have been nice to be with you at Martha V's, but all right, guys.
Folks at home, if you're watching it, you ever post something on social media and then you get a text from a friend saying, why didn't you invite me? I didn't have an extra invite, Poet. Otherwise, it would have been for you. I promise. Next time, I'll bring you, okay? Hey, let's jump into this. In this case, we're going to kick it off with Travis Kelce, now giving fans rare insight into how he and his girlfriend, none other than Taylor Swift, fell in love so fast. In a recent interview and photo shoot for GQ magazine, Travis said, quote, "Whenever I'm with her, it feels like we're just regular people." The Kansas City Chiefs star said the relationship evolved organically. Despite all the media attention, he says they fell in love based off the people they were sitting in a room together, and well, also they share values and appreciate people for who they are. I guess we're finally getting the inside scoop as to how they fell in LOVE, Poet.
Do we care? Can we talk about these pictures though? Because you're a regular person. Well, these are the pictures according to the interview. I would love to have seen him in some suits, sitting, sipping coffee, little silhouettes and whatnot. And I know somebody came at me once when we talked about him and Taylor called me a hater. I'm not. I just noticed sometimes we be getting got with relationships that ain't, just so they can move what they want to move. Look at how them tickets to NFL games went. Look at how her record sales and concert sales went. Not to say they weren't making money before, but they made a lot of money together, and I don't need to hear no more about them. I do like the fact that
well, unfortunately, Poet, you're about to hear a little bit more at least about her because in this case, Taylor Swift recently trademarked everything related to her new album. According to the new trademark filing obtained by TMZ, Taylor's management filed court documents to secure the rights to The Last of a Showgirl just hours before the pop star's announcement about her upcoming album. Talk about a smart move, Poet.
That every creative in DC, Maryland, and Virginia are paying attention. Copyright your things. I do have Just Curious Poe, Just Curious Life, Bacon Bits, Edutainment, Village Cousin, all of that under my belt, okay? You gotta make smart business moves out there, because, Guy, you know the first thing people gonna do is run off with it. Have a whole website that don't have nothing to do with her but making money, because people don't really read the fine print. So, way to go, Taylor. See how Taylor let us know her business and what she's doing without mentioning her boyfriend?
Hold on one second, Poet. I'm trying to see if Poet is trademarked, and if not, I'm about to do it. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I'll get to that after the show. Hey, let's move on to Maluma, who stopped his concert in Mexico City over the weekend when he saw a baby without any ear protection in the crowd. The Colombian singer scolded the mom for not protecting her child's ears and also noted the baby didn't want to be at the concert. I guess he told her.
They spoke up for this baby, because I've been to concerts before and been like, I know that 1 2-year-old does not care that Kendrick is on stage. What are we doing? And why the baby here? If you want to go to a concert that bad, baby, I will cover the babysitter for you. And then they had a baby that would no cover for the kids. It's also like, come on, sis. But I also want to rep for the mothers, because that is a 24/7, 365 job. And sometimes when you got the time, and you just take it. So I'm going to go with the grace of maybe the baby had on some headphones and Maluma happened to catch the baby when she had maybe taken them off a little bit or something. I always like to believe the best in things. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that's the actual scenario, but if you say so, hey, I'm all for it. Look, I get it. Perhaps she couldn't find, let's say, childcare in time, but you're a parent, something you got to think about, and something that perhaps you should protect your child.
Or we just develop a new business where we go to all the arenas and we have child care on site for you. While you watch the concert, you pay me $150.
Hey, Poet, I got 3 minutes left, and I know you're going to at least talk about a minute. Take a minute of my time to talk about what you have coming up this weekend. Do tell.
Hey, so here's the rundown, Village. Before we all go and celebrate how many years? 50 of Go-Go at Chef Brown Day? Pull up on me, Smiles on the South Side. It's my 3rd annual back-to-school event in partnership with the St. John CME Church on the South Side. We're on Stanton. Haircuts, hairstyle, back-to-school supplies till they're gone. free food, gaming truck giveaway. Shout out to P-Vibe for that, all of that. And then on Sunday, 8th annual Community Cuts for Kids with Craig Black will be in Greenbelt. So if you need your baby taken care of, we got you. That's all I really got. I don't really got a lot this time because I want to spend more time with you.
Well, I truly appreciate it. I enjoy spending time with you as well. Virtually. I'm just playing, Poet. Absolutely love you. Poet Taylor, Celebrity Dish, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Of course, you can check her out weekdays on WPGC 95.5. Got to run, Poet. Truly love you.
Love you. I got them Don't Cheat tickets, y'all. Sold out.
All right, guys. That just about wraps it up for us. On behalf of my producer, Emmy, I'm Guy Lambert. Hey, if you haven't already done so, make sure you stream any and all things Fox 5. You see it right there on your TV screen. Yes, click on the QR code to download the Fox Local app. That's because tonight you can check out our guy, producer Chris, Do You Like It or Not, beginning at 7:30. In the meantime, that's Emmy. I'm Guy. We're back here tomorrow at noon. The Take coming up next.